This is the mitosis review. For this review, you're going to need to turn to page 7 in your packet. And as you get there, we are going to watch a quick video. A few classes saw this before. Some of you have not. But even if you saw it before, I'd like you to see it again as a quick review for the process of mitosis.
Mitosis begins as the long threads of DNA in the nucleus start to coil. Having already replicated, these threads emerge as the double strands we know as chromosomes. Meanwhile, protein fibers grow from the migrating centrioles, forming a latticework of spindles. For reasons scientists don't fully understand, the nuclear membrane suddenly disintegrates. With amazing accuracy, a spindle from each centriole attaches itself to each of the chromosomes. Assisted by the protein fibers, the chromosomes move center stage. In a microscopic tug of war, the spindles pull each chromatid toward opposite poles. Other spindles push against each other in a ratcheting action that stretches the cell. The chromosomes then unwind and the nuclear membranes reform. With mitosis complete, the nuclei and cytoplasm separate, creating two new cells in this ongoing cycle that sustains all life.
All right, now on page 7, we are going to talk about an acronym pronounced IPMAT. And of course, that's not a real word. It's an acronym that's going to help us remember the phases of mitosis in order. So on page 7, I'd like you to go down to your chart about mitosis. And we're under the word interphase. I'd like you to add, just like I have here, the letter I, and then say equals I. Now, we use the letter I in IPMAT to mean interphase because this is when our cell is looking like this, where it kind of looks like an eyeball. Okay, use your imagination. Anyway, remember that interphase is when the cell is not dividing. It's when the cell is just being a cell, it's making protein, it's growing, it's developing, and this is when it's making copies of everything so that when it splits, it's going to be able to have the right stuff in each of the two new cells. All right, the P in IPMAT, of course, stands for prophase, but we'll also use the word pieces to help us remember what's happening during prophase. So over in the box it says prophase, go ahead and add the word pieces underneath because this is where the cell structure starts to fall to pieces. The nuclear membrane is disappearing, the nucleolus is dissolving, and all that structure that we know as the cell is sort of falling apart. Okay? The M in IPMAT stands, of course, for metaphase, but also let's remember that this is when the chromosomes line up in the middle. So please add the word middle under metaphase to remind you what's happening during metaphase. The A in IPMAT stands for anaphase, but also reminds us that this is when the chromosomes are being pulled apart. So please add that word apart underneath the word anaphase. And finally, the T in IPMAT, of course, represents telophase, and it's also reminding us that this is when we have two of things forming, two nuclei and two cells. All right, and so IPMAT is just sort of a weird little nonsense acronym, but that can help us remember those phases in order and also help give us a reminder of what's actually happening during each one of those phases. All right, so before we move on from page 7, we're going to finish up our Cornell notes here. So please take a highlighter out of the green basket, and I'd like you to start by highlighting these key words on page 7. After you've highlighted those, I have 3 other things I'd like you to highlight. So starting at the top here of the chart where it says cells are not dividing, please highlight that bullet point right there to remind you that during interphase, cells are not dividing. I also want you to go way down to the bottom here where it says interphase again and highlight where it says cell is not dividing to remind you that it goes back into interphase. And then finally, mitosis, this sideways writing. I want you to highlight that as well. Okay? Then I'd like you to please go up here where we have these different reasons that we have new cells. And I'd like you to add this in your left-hand column, just like this. Say 4 reasons cells divide. Use your highlighter to draw a little box around that and draw that to your attention. Make a little bracket like that. Pause at this point if you need a moment. All right. So then, for your questions today, I'm going to only require you to do 2 questions because we already have that other thing written in our left-hand column. So pause the video for a minute and write your 2 questions using 2 different question starters. All right. Finally, for your summary today, you're going to do a keyword summary. And for a keyword summary, you're going to use 4 sentences about this page, trying to use as many of the keywords as you can. When you're done, please highlight the keywords in your writing. Pause the video while you work on your summary. All right, so before you move on, please double check that you have done all parts of this page, including please make sure you have highlighted keywords in your summary. When you're done, make sure you cap your highlighter and set it back into the green basket where you got it from. Now we're going to move on to page 6. And page 6 is going to be a choice activity. You're going to choose between 3 different activities. Please start by setting up page 6 so it looks like this. So put your name on there. Make sure your page 6 page number is down at the bottom. And then as a title, please write Mitosis Review and then do a blank. Just like I did, you're going to fill in that blank in a little bit. All right, now for this assignment, it's called the Mitosis Choice Assignment, and that's because there are 3 options. And what I'm going to ask you to please do right now is put your pencil down so you're not writing anything while you are watching this part. And I'm going to ask you to be patient and attentive and listen and watch through all 3 of the options before you decide which one you want to do. All right, so the first option is a Mitosis Review comic strip. Now, for the comic strip, what you're going to do, the requirements are that you do at least 6 panels or 6 boxes. Now, you can do more, so I wouldn't pre-draw this. I would wait until you've decided what you want to do. But you must do at least 6 boxes. You should include pictures and dialogue of a cell going through the process of mitosis. And you must use color for this. So there's colored pencils in the green baskets that you can use when you are working on this. Please make sure you add color and that you have pictures and dialogue included. That is option 1. Option 2 is called Build It, Draw It, Write It. And you're going to do exactly what it says. You are going to get materials from the front of the room. There are some little mini versions of the felt board that I demonstrated in class. So I used the big one as a demonstration. There are some mini ones. So you would need a felt board and a little bag of supplies. And you'd start by building the phase of mitosis the way that it should look. So you'd start with prophase after you set up the page, and you would build what prophase is supposed to look like. You can use your notes to help you. And then you were going to draw what you just built in the column that says draw it. Please note that for your drawing, you need to add labels and you need to add color. All right, and then finally, in your own words, you are going to summarize what's going on in that step. Now, you may use your notes to help you, but you may not just simply copy what's in your notes. You need to put things in your own words as you summarize this. All right, so that is called Build It, Draw It, Write It. That's option 2. Option 3 is using the micro viewers. All right, and you're going to need a black micro viewer, and that's back in the lab on the back corner lab table. And you'll also need one of the folders that says plant mitosis. Okay, so you're going to need those two things. And you're going to set up your page so it looks like this. And as you make the titles for these 4 boxes, I want you to notice that they are not 1, 2, 3, 4. They are 2, 3, 6, 8. And that's because those are the sections from the micro viewer that you are going to be using. So please make sure you have those numbers correct if you choose this one so that you know which parts of the micro viewer folder to use. So after you've set up your page, you will read the description of the number you're looking at. For instance, you're going to start with number 2, prophase, and you're going to look at the pictures, and then you're going to carefully draw and label what you see. And so you're going to add labels to things based on your knowledge and also based on what you're reading in the microviewer. Then I'd like you to add 3 descriptive bullet points from the reading of that section about what is happening. So it can be bullet points, but when I say descriptive, they're probably going to be bullet points that are the length of a sentence. Okay? Even if they're not a complete sentence, they should be the length of a regular sentence. Okay? This is option number 3. So what you're going to do is, here's the instructions for all 3 things. You're going to choose one of these, and you're going to set up your page so it looks like this, whichever one you're doing. And then I'd like you to jot down in very abbreviated form. You don't have to write all my words that are on there, but just like up in the corner, I'd like you to jot down the requirements for yours, like for instance, if you need to use color or add labels, those things, so that once you're not looking at the screen anymore, you know what to do. All right, you can pause while you're deciding and setting up your page, and then you can go gather your materials and get started. At the end, you can leave the iPad at your table, but please return any headphones to the bin. All mitosis materials should be brought back to wherever you picked them up.